So, you guys ready to get started?
Here we go. Let's do it.
Okay. So usually you guys get your tips from Rex Roberts, our resident digital media artist. I'm the new guy here, so trying to fill in and help him out. So let's go ahead and get started.
And your name?
On looking...
Your
Oh,
name?
I thought you introduced me. Sorry, my name's Sean Redstar. Started like
Hey, Sean.
Hey. Yeah. So for today's webinar, we're going to focus on how to create this cyborg woman that we've been showing for our launch. You guys can see that. So some of the topics we're going to cover are exporting options for 3D Max, which might be kind of hard right now because we have to switch computers. This computer doesn't have 3D Max, but I'll walk you guys through it. Improve translucent material, point light diffuse, techniques to achieve a glowing material, lighting a scene using primarily physical lights, addressing the scale of the model in relation to the physical lights, creating a defined light behind a translucent material, using existing UV map data, increasing visual pop of cast light colors, and saving view sets. So it seems like a lot, but we'll see how we get through all this. So the first thing I want to talk about is exporting 3D Max. We've acquired this model through TurboSquid, which was modeled in 3D Max, so it has a lot of UV map data, and also it was a fully rigged model with iKeyBone, so it's easily posed and easily put into dynamic shots. The best way to get 3D Max files into KeyShot is to use the KeyShot plugin. So let's go ahead, and no one knows where it is. I'll go ahead and show you guys where it is right now. So if you just go to keyshot.com, under resources, plugins, right here in the first section of the plugins, you'll see the 3D Max logo here. And go ahead and just download the KeyShot 4 plugin. So once that's installed, you will probably, I'm going to walk you through this because I don't have the 3D Max on this computer, but you will open up the file and hit export, and under the file type, you can go ahead and select KeyShot bit file. People who are familiar with 3D Max, don't be confused. It is not a biped model that you can attach a skeleton to a model. This is a specific file for KeyShot. They share the similar name, but it's for KeyShot, so make sure it says KeyShot BIP. So you have that done. It'll come in. It'll transfer all the mesh data with Turbo Smooth and UV maps. So let me go ahead and show you guys what that would look like after you've exported from 3D Max to a BIP file. So just importing. Okay, so now that it's in, let's go look at the model and what kind of detail we've got. As you can see, it's a really smooth model without any facets. It retained all the Turbo Smooth modifiers on it, as well as I forgot to transfer. There are bump maps on, color maps on here that are usually applied. They're just not in the same folder as my computer. So if it was in my computer, you would see that they're all perfectly UV mapped. No, because it has to be in the right folder, hierarchy and stuff, so no worries. Yeah, I'll show you guys what the results are by retaining the UV data for mapping near the end. Because right now, for the model we used for the KeyShot launch, we wanted to kind of retain like a nice, clean, brand spanking new cyborg instead of the texture maps that were placed on it. Kind of gave it a more rough and tumble look. So I'll put those on the end just so you can see what that looks like with the UV map data retained. So let's keep going. As you can see, there's lots of parts on this model. So I'm going to go ahead and open up another file where I've already started assigning materials to some of the minutia parts, and just want to focus on some of the major parts I want to talk about, like translucent materials. So let's go ahead and open that file. Oh yeah, let me show you guys what the finished one will look like once we finish this webinar, hopefully. Yeah, so this is with all the lights and the materials set up. So this is what our goal is for today. So let's go ahead and let's open up. Which one is it? Yeah. Oops. Yeah, I might as well pause this one. Or just close this one out. I'll just put it over here. So we'll let that load in. Cool. So right now what we have is nothing, no lights or anything special. This is basic materials we have applied here. What we're going to do first is let's focus on the ball. First thing I want to do is let's assign a translucent material to this ball. So under the translucent folder in your library, I'm going to go ahead and choose Smooth High Translucent. Apply that to the ball. I'm going to go ahead and give that a blue color. So under Surface Color, let's just go ahead and give it a blue color. Let's put that aside so you can see what it looks like. And subsurface color, I'm going to give it like a darker color just because when it starts getting lit, it's going to get washed out if it's a light subsurface, which is basically the color of the interior, basically, of the material. So I'm going to give it like a darker value there. Let me go walk you guys through some of these sliders for the translucency, if you guys aren't aware of it. Translucency dictates how much light is diffused through the material. A lot of people confuse this with transparency, which is not the same thing. So if I set this all the way to 1, it will diffuse light very little. And if I set this all the way to the max 10, it will diffuse light, so it'd be like a brighter ball. So a higher number, a brighter material, lower number, less darker material, basically, how much light will pass through it. So now that we have that, now let's add the light to make it start glowing. So in our scene tree, I'm going to go to Material Ball 1. I'm going to go ahead and edit that material. Under Type, I'm going to give it a point light diffuse type. As you can see, as let it res up, it's starting to glow a little bit. Go ahead and raise that value probably. It's not quite showing up all the way, so let's go ahead and change the color. You can change the intensity both with the slider here, which you can switch between power of watts or lumens. It's different light values. And they're accurate to the numerical accurate to the scales. So what I want to do is turn down the environment, because basically what I want to show off is the light, when we start using them in this scene. So what's basically happening, I'm turning off the lights in the HDRI, which is why the model itself is starting to look dark, while the ball is remaining lit because it's being lit from the inside by the point light. Cool. All right, we're getting a little bit closer now. Let's see if we can change that color of the inner ball. Maybe not so dark. Maybe more of a closer to the white value. Yeah, that looks a little better. Let's see if we can change the value of this. Outer ball. Okay. When working with the lights in KeyShot 4, it's also important to notice your scale, because scale is very important to a lot of the new features in KeyShot 4. So when we apply a light to the material, imagine like this light is a candle. And if the scale is tiny, like let's say this model is the size of a mouse, it would be able to light really well this model. But let's say the scale was, instead of 5 centimeters, it's like 5 meters. So it's like the size of an elephant. If you put a candle next to an elephant, it's not going to light very well. So it's very important to notice what scale you're working in while you are working in KeyShot. A good way to reference what that is when you click on in your scene tree, when you click on models, it should show you under scene information, under units, what scale you're working in. For some reason, we are working in meters with this woman. Whoever modeled it wanted to have a gigantic woman, so we just have to keep that aware when we're lighting, using lights with her today. So if you're working with lights in your own projects and things just aren't seeming to work well, just keep in mind what your scale is and what the values of the lights are. Okay, so now we're getting close. We want to have the cyborg starting being lit. So let's go ahead and work with the material of the actual robot. Right now it's just regular plastic. We want to make that translucent material as well to catch the light that's going around. Make that lighter value as well for surface color. Let's go ahead and do the same for the arms. Make that a little darker value just to give some interest. I'll do that for the legs as well. See what that's like. It's gonna look very dark now because, like I said, we've turned down the environment brightness, so it's being lit right now with just one light in the scene, basically almost. So the next thing I want to do is add some IES lights to the scene. An IES profile is a way for KeyShot and other rendering suites to implement real-world lights into a scene. Rex mentioned it in the last tutorial. There's a multitude of online resources to obtain IES profiles, but I have a few I'm going to use right now. So let's go ahead and add. I'm going to import. The spheres here going. And go ahead and move that sphere. Yes. I'm going to make it into a light. I've been planning on having like an overhead light coming down on top of her head, and maybe like a key light coming in from the right side of the camera towards her body. So I'm going to place this sphere right about there. I'm going to say OK. Go ahead and edit that material and give it a point light IES profile. Once you do that, this window should pop up, and it's going to ask you to find a profile in your computer. I'm going to have one already set up in the webinar folder. So I'm going to use my overhead IES light. And when you do that, you should see a little wireframe that shows up. That pretty much defines the direction of the light and where it's going to be pointing at. So let's go ahead and raise that multiplier up and see what happens. Let's make this a lighter color too. Like I said, light intensity is dictated not only by the multiplier, but also the color you're actually choosing. You can see a little bit of light coming down a little bit right there. Go ahead and move this down closer maybe. To the front. I'm going to point it a little bit at an angle to the front. So I'm going to angle it just a little bit. You can see that little cone kind of pointing down that way. Alright. That's good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just, I'm going to just duplicate this one because I want to use the same type of light coming in from the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that part. And go ahead and move this over here. Using the tool to just rotate it around. Just kind of toggling back and forth between the different transform tools of translate and rotate. Pretty good. Let's see how she looks. Let her res up a bit. As Rex mentioned in the last webinar, the translucent material, it has been improved, so it does calculate faster, so it reses up quite a bit faster as well, both in the real-time view and rendering. Maybe we could pump this up just a bit more. Go ahead and just top it out, maybe. Cool. All right, so you know what? I think I want to increase the light source of the inner ball again because it's not quite casting the same blue light that I want it to be casting, like you guys saw in the render from the launch images we've been showing around. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that material. Something you'll notice now is, I don't know if you guys figured this out, but the slider is all the way maxed out and the watt is at 1000. An interesting thing about some of these sliders that you can do in KeyShot is actually go beyond the slider. So it's a little like a secret menu. Let's go ahead and turn this to a 5,000 watt value and see what happens. Yeah, that's a lot nicer. You can see some of the cast light bouncing off, reflecting off the face and the body of the Android now. It's a little bit closer. We're getting there. So for the next effect I want to create is the glowing heart underneath the translucent material. Like we've stated previously, this new translucent material does allow it to interact correctly with both emissives and the physical lights that have been introduced. So we can actually have nice focused lights passing through. So let's go ahead and actually let's just copy another the last sphere, and then let's go ahead and move that into place. I'm just going to move it somewhere in the vicinity of the heart, where the heart should be. It's a little finessing to get this just right inside the chest cavity. You can see it already reacting with the translucent material. Alright, so now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and check that to say okay. I'm going to edit this material because I want to change the type of IES profile now. Instead of a wide beam cast, I want kind of a focused beam. So I'm going to go ahead and under File, you can actually change the profile on the fly. Click on the little folder icon, and I already have one I already chose that I wanted to use. So I'm going to use this Define Spot IES. So as you can see, the wireframe changed dramatically from the other wireframe. This kind of gives you a hint of what the light might behave and where it's going to go. Like I said, it's going to direct it towards that direction. What I want to do is direct it towards the chest. So I'm going to go ahead and use the transform tool again, or the move tool, sorry, and just rotate it into place so that point is pretty much pointing out towards the chest. There. So there's a kind of see a preview of that. That's nice. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave that. As you can see, as it rises up, the light has a nice, strong central point, and it has a nice fall off towards the edges. The translucent material is really nice at just having diffusing that light. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's not geometry. It's a part of the material itself. Yeah. So it's on. Don't like type it in here. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, the point light is just the wireframe that you see is just for reference for you to see. It's not actual any 3D geometry that reacts with any other shaders. Yeah, it's actually part of the material. Yeah, just the IS only. Yeah. The point light. The point light pretty much, it doesn't take any of the values of the geometry. It just pretty much finds the centroid of whatever that object was and projects light from all directions in a spherical way. So the difference between like a point light and IS light, it has no real geometry, basically, right? Would you say that? No, it should have the same effects, right? Yeah, the scale is a factor, but the shape is not. Only it has an effect with the area light, right? But not the point light. Yeah. So if you're using a point light, it's kind of like I don't know if any of you guys use point lights in other 3D software, but it's just like it just kind of radiates out right from the center. It's kind of different if you use an area light. The area light does matter what the shape is, and it projects from the face of the surface. So those are little differences about the different lights. I'm not using the area light right now, so maybe in a different webinar we can talk about that. So let's go ahead and start finishing out the lighting effects here. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a red finish, just to make it look like a nice glowy heart. Maybe making it a little, I'm going to turn on the multiplier just so it's not so screamy. I don't want to have the matte ball be the point of focus. I'm going to give it a darker red. Cool. So yeah, you can create some really interesting effects with the point lights and the IES lights with the translucent material. So we're getting a little bit closer. What I want to do next is I still want to enhance that blue cast around the model, but what I don't want to do is if I start increasing the value of the light that's within the matte ball, it's going to start getting blown out. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to actually create another sphere. So I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm just going to move over kind of near the matte ball. In between the matte ball and the face of the cyborg. I'm going to say OK. And go ahead and edit the material. And I'm just going to change it back to point light diffuse, which is the same kind of light that's inside the matte ball. And I'm going to change the color to a blue value. Increase the power a little bit, maybe not all the way. So what I want to do is just have the light start bouncing off the surface, but not start blowing out the matte ball. Let's go see, let that res up and see what that looks like. Yeah, we can turn that up a little bit more probably. So as you can see, it's a little bit more of the blue light being cast around the body and the arms and the face from this point light because it's radiating out from the center of this point instead of being radiating out from the center of the ball. It has to pass through several materials. So I kind of want to give the effect of it being a little bit brighter than it actually is without blowing out the material. Let's go ahead and just turn it more up. Yeah, it looks kind of nice. So what I want to do is just kind of I want to ostensibly paint more of this light. So I'm just go ahead and duplicate that again. I'm going to move that down. So select that, move this down. I'm just adding more of these blue point light diffuse material just to cast a nice blue light around the cyborg model. Yeah, it's kind of a nice blue going on right now. Yeah, so that's pretty close. I mean, you can tweak these values more as you go along, but for now, let's just keep this where we are and just keep moving forward. Now I want to go back and touch back with what I was talking about when I first started, which was the UV maps. Like I said, we chose to go with a more clean, sleek appearance for the cyborg, but she does have some weathering UVs that we can attach. And since this is exported from 3D Max, all that data is still retained. So let's go ahead and edit the the armor. I just double-clicked on the breastplate, and I'm going to Textures. And if you still have to find where you created your UV map in 3D Max, you can go ahead and use the same one. Go ahead and click. This is the one that is attached to that set of models. So you don't see it yet because, remember, when you have a UV map, you want to go ahead and under Type, use UV coordinates. There you go. The translucency material still retained whilst applying the map over it. Still, the scratches and bumps are a little bit really screamy, so I'm going to go ahead and turn down the contrast to kind of maybe soften it a bit. Go ahead and try the same technique with the armor. Again, where is it? Yeah, I forgot. So go ahead and go to UV coordinates. It should pop in right away. There you go. See how it looks a little bit. She's a little bit worn around the edges now. Go ahead and turn down the contrast, so buff her out a bit. Yeah, so she's been around. She's contemplating life with this HDRI ball. Sorry, matte ball, and just thinking about what the next thing she should do. I think the next thing she should do is find out where she should live. So let's go ahead and pop in places where she can. Let's see what this one looks like. Let's just pop in like the factory default one and see what that looks like. It's kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and maybe it's getting a little too dark now, so I'm going to try to bump up the HDRI brightness just a bit. See what that looks like. I'm just trying to do some of the turn it around a bit maybe. Just rotating it. I'm using the hotkey control left click to just rotate the environment within the real-time view. Interesting view. Yeah, there we go. Now it's a little better. The reflection of the environment's nice on the head there. Alright, so let's say, well, I like this, but I still want to try something a little different. Like I said in the last webinar, we went over a few things. One of the things we really wanted to showcase was the view sets. So what the view set allows you to do is pretty much save the camera and environment settings to a particular set, and you can go back to it whenever you want to. So let's go ahead and make a view set. So under, let's go to camera. Where you usually make add camera, there's a new one called add view set, a new option. So let's go ahead and click that option. We can just name this webinar 1. And then I will say, okay, let's see what happens. I want to see what this industrial place looks like. Oh, that's kind of interesting. A little bit more moody, like a little darker vibe. Maybe I'll change her angle too. It's actually a little bright too, so I'm going to go ahead and change the environment on that. Just give it a little darker edge to it. Cool. And I'm going to change the camera as well. Maybe make it look a little more ominous from a bottom-up view. She's going to take over the world or something. That looks pretty awesome. And then I'm going to make this another view set. So I'm going to go ahead and same button, add view set, and call this webinar 2. Okay, so now that we have these 2 view sets set, well, I want to go back to the other one. You don't have to memorize every single step you did. You can just go down your pull down, just click webinar 1, and it'll go back to all the settings that you set for the other environment as well as the HDRI that you placed. So that's really useful if you want to really switch back and forth with different environment settings that you're just playing around with and toying with, and really want to just kind of pinpoint what you want. Alright, let's see, what else can we do? Oh, I like this one better. So maybe we can go ahead and maybe try adding just some subtle highlights. I'm going to go ahead and open up the HDRI editor. So, yeah, Rex touched on this last webinar, but there's a new feature that's been implemented where if the HDR editor is open, we can go ahead and the old way of adding highlights was go ahead and going to pens and say add, and you can just kind of guess where that highlight is going to be. Oh, there it is. I see it by her head. Or, but there's a kind of a new way to do this. So let's go ahead and delete that one. And kind of a really cool feature is you can, while this window is open, you can right-click on your model and say Set Highlight. After you set Highlight, this little window pops up. This is very important. Sometimes people forget this. It says Control-Click Add Highlight. Click drag to position, and remember when you're done, click the Done button. So I'm going to Control-Click where I want the highlight. I'm just going to put it right here and see what happens. As you can see, it puts it pretty close to the general direct area of where that click was. That's pretty close. So instead of guessing and dragging that pin until you finally start seeing some white on your model, you can kind of have this KeyShot kind of has a good way of making a guess of where you want it to be based on where you click on your model. So I'm going to go ahead and click Done. And now I'm going to try and just kind of refine that highlight to fit. Go back to adjustments, and we can adjust our HDRI through here as well. The tilt function is kind of interesting, where if you want to just get just the right streak against some of your metals or shiny surfaces, you can see it changing right here. You can actually rotate it in for HDRI as well, Yeah, I mean, that's some really awesome tools to help you really refine your rendering and really get that sweet shot that you're looking for. So good. Close this out. Let it res up. Okay, I think that covers most of the. I think I covered all the the points that I wanted to cover. Let's see, are there any questions from the webinar?
I think we covered most of them. A lot of questions on lights. We'll probably be putting something together to address some of those, but I think we got most of them. IES light resources. Just posted a thread on the forums under HDRIs and lighting that provides some IES resources for you guys. There's Philips, American Electric Lighting, Airco Lighting, and LA Lighting. So you can grab some of those profiles from there. Other than that, let's see, when will the webinar be available? We'll be putting this together and getting it in our webinar section on the website here within the next week. Probably next week it'll be up, and we'll let you know about that. Just watch the blog. Any other last questions? Rex, you might want to explain a little bit about importing objects and turning them into lights, soft boxes, physical lights, how point and area light, what works better. That seems to be a lot of questions around that.
The point light, it doesn't really matter about the geometry. It finds the centroid of whatever that model is. Same with the IES, it finds the centroid and creates that profile that you see in the wireframe. The only one that really makes a difference probably is the area light, where it actually projects lights from whatever the surfaces are on that model. We have found a lot of success using just simple geometry planes, or actually discs. If you want to create a circular light, create a planar disc to use as your light source for the area light diffuse. Because you will see a cast light in that shape pointing out towards the area. Yeah, the simpler the geometry, the better. It's easier control. I wouldn't use a sphere for the area light diffuse. It's a little bit harder to manage. It creates some interesting effects that aren't desired sometimes. So the simpler, the better for the area light. Let's see.
And we do have some examples. We do have some example models in KeyShot 4 that come with KeyShot 4, so you can open those up and see exactly how those work.
Yeah, there's the desk lamp example I made for them, so that should be a pretty good one. I think it has the area light in there. Oh no, it has IES light in that one, I think. So is there any other good questions out there that I missed while I was doing the demo?
All right, looks pretty good. Again, we'll be going through those questions over lights, and if we haven't answered any, always feel free to ask on the forums. And yeah, thanks again for joining us. And look.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, look for the webinar to be up on the site, like I said, probably next week. So, thanks again, everyone.
And we're also going to be working on the light tutorial soon, so that will be up as well.
Great. So. All right, thanks again, everyone. Take care.
Thanks.